Welcome. My name is Shaida, and this is Her America. Today, I'm going to be sharing about my experiences working with Chick-Fil-A. Ever since coming down here from Virginia, I struggled with finding a job that would keep me stable and financially independent. I took on a temporary job opportunity as a campaign coordinator working with a activist organization. And after that ended, I tried to find something else very quickly. So I was applying everywhere. I was applying for Amazon. I was applying for Food Lion. I was applying for Aldi's. And you would think with everyone trying to hire during the time that I was applying for different places, they would be happy to have more applicants. But no, and eventually all of that led to Chick-fil-A. And how I first got into Chick-fil-A, well, it started off with an application. I put in an application, and then I got an email back for a phone interview. So I did the phone interview with probably somebody from corporate, and then they scheduled me in for an in-person interview. So I did two interviews. I did a phone interview, and then I did an in-person interview. And when I came in person, I was sitting down face to face with one of the directors at the time. Now she operates as a partner at the Chick-fil-A establishment that I'm currently at. And it was that interview where I actually got the job and was now considered a team member with Chick-fil-A. So, since coming down here from Maryland to Virginia last year, I've been with Chick-fil-A for 10 months, a little over 10 months now. And since I've been working there, I've had the pleasure of working in the front where you get to interact with customers and take orders. I've had the pleasure of working in the back of the house. So there is two terms: front of the house, meaning that you're there order taking, running orders out, taking orders. And there's back of the house, where you're mostly in the kitchen helping food prep and basically cooking things, dropping food in the fryers and packaging sandwiches very quickly. And I also have been plenty of times been a dining room host. So I'm basically the first person. If you're a dining room host, I am the first person that you see walking through the door of Chick-fil-A. I'm there waving at you, smiling, and basically making you feel welcome. And one of the things, the reason why that I've decided to share about Chick-fil-A is because it is just so strategic how they operate. And I've read articles by other team members, not at the Chick-fil-A that I work at, but just other Chick-fil-A's around the country. And I've always been a little bit, wary of how they share, because it's almost as if they share only the good parts of working at Chick-fil-A. And of course, there are challenging parts, because at the end of the day, it's food service. And when you're dealing with customers and people of all different kinds of personalities, you're going to have conflicts and issues. But when I do read about stories of how other people work, it's almost as if they glamorize the job and don't want to go into detail about how it can be difficult. So the way that I want to break it down for you all during this episode is talking about the biblical values of Chick-fil-A and the business values of the establishment, and how how it makes us an outlier compared to other fast food establishments. So let's begin. So let's start off with biblical values. One of the things that Chick-fil-A is known for is being closed on Sundays. And that is because the founder, S. Truett Cathy, believed that Sundays should be a day of rest. Cathy was a Southern Baptist based on research that I've done and the stories that I hear working at Chick-fil-A. He was a run-of-the-mill Southern Baptist. He believed that Sunday should be your day of rest and that you should utilize that day to prep for the productive week that laid ahead of you. So that's one reason why Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays, is because it's considered a day of rest for all of its employees. Another biblical value that Chick-fil-A has is known as the Core Four. And for all my Chick-fil-A team members out there, the Core Four consists of the four things that make up the relational leadership style that all the team members should exercise every day when they're working in the store. The first of the Core Four is smile. Every time a customer walks through your door, you should hit them with a smile because it makes them feel welcome. Second is speak with a friendly tone, or more as speak with enthusiasm, because it demonstrates that you care about the customer that's in front of you. It also uplifts the mood, and it can be it tells the customer that they can find trust in you even while you're taking their order or attending to their care. Third is eye contact. They really emphasize on you making eye contact with your customers, because it will demonstrate to them that that you care as a team member, but also that you're listening to them. Eye contact is a very important part of communication. And so one of the things that I do when I'm out order taking, if I am outside in the drive-through order taking, I make sure that I'm looking up at my customer instead of focusing on my tablet where I'm taking orders down on. Because as a service worker, it's very easy to try to not make eye contact with customers, because as you're listening to them explain to you their order, you are trying to find the right button, put in the right information before you can submit it at their transaction. So yes, eye contact is very important. Fourth is always say my pleasure. Have you ever walked into a Chick-fil-A and been hit with 1,000 my pleasures, it's because it's embedded into us to say my pleasure for every single thank you or express of gratitude. Why? Because it tells you as the customer that service here is something that we should do. We should emphasize on giving great customer service. And I think all of this is related to biblical values is because and one of the things I learned during orientation is it's about exercising things that not only service. I don't know how to explain it without making it sound so weird. Okay, so when I went to orientation, one of the directors then present us a presentation of biblical scriptures implicated into each of the exercise of the core four. And I think it was interesting because in the Bible, especially for as a woman of faith, you're taught a lot in the church and in your personal time with God that you should serve people, not in the hopes that you will get something in return, but because God served you. You should show that love to people because God loved you first and have that sense of compassion. And I think there's something really striking and powerful about that. And when working in one of the stores, you don't say my pleasure because you did your job by getting a customer's order down and giving them their food. You say my pleasure because you're serving them with the attitude that you do this regardless of how appreciative they would be or would not be. And lastly, as far as biblical value goes, is second mile service, which means going beyond expectations. That means when you see a customer about to come inside, may try opening the door for them. And as a dining room host, there were plenty of times where I have opened the doors for customers, that I would check on customers who were sitting down, enjoying their meals, and ask them, hey, do you want a refill on that? Or is your meal going okay? Or how are you enjoying your meal? And there have been times where I've run after kids or played with kids while the parents run to the bathroom real quickly. And you don't see that a lot in fast food restaurants because, let's face it, nobody wants to go the extra mile for customers most of the time. But that's something that Chick-fil-A really stands strong on, is making sure that each and every single guest feels well taken care of, because they want to be known as the world's most caring company. So next we have business values. Earlier, I shared why Chick-fil-A is closed on Sunday. And I think after reading an article about why Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays, it turns out that it's, as much as it is a biblical value of Chick-fil-A, it is also a very strategic business value of Chick-fil-A. So I'm going to research it right now. because there was a very interesting article by the Business Insider, I believe. I'm going to try to see if I could find it. But if I can't, I'll look for it later and try to link it to the information. Yeah, it says here, Business Insider. The company attributes the rule to its founder, Chewit Cathy, on its website. Having worked 7 days a week in restaurants open 24 hours, Chewit saw the importance of closing on Sunday so that he and his employees could set aside one day to rest and worship if they choose. But also, yes, I have it right here. By Business. Why Chick-fil-A's decision to close on Sunday is a brilliant business strategy. And it says here that despite being open for 14% fewer days a year than competitors, Chick-fil-A is dominating the fast food industry. The chain's same-store sales grew by 16.7% in 2018, according to Nation's Restaurant News data. Internal sales figures shared with Business Insider indicate the same-store sales have been up by more than 16% so far in 2019. And it says here later in the article, it provides a sense of urgency. You better get to that restaurant today because they're going to be closed on Sunday. So on and so forth. I don't think the company designed it that way at all, but it's a call to action every single week. So yeah, there's that. It's a call to action every single week by customers like yourself that want to come and get a Chick-fil-A sandwich meal before we close on that one dreadful day. Another value of Chick-fil-A business is fast and efficient service. Now, one of the things as a team member at Chick-fil-A is we are trained and then retrained on how to quickly take a customer's order, package it, submit it, and even deliver it to them. So at the Chick-fil-A that I work at, the dictatorial management likes us to be able to complete a customer order, especially when we're in the drive-thru, in 45 seconds or less. 45 seconds. 45 seconds can go by very quickly if you're not paying attention. Yes, but for every single customer, we have to be able to meet this expectation that every customer should be served in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So the minute they come through the drive-thru, we are to take their order in 45 seconds or less, regardless how small or big the order might be. And as they continue on the drive-thru, we should be able to have their food and drinks ready for them by the 3 minute and 30 seconds mark. And I'm not sure where we're at currently, but that's a lot of pressure for every single customer. And not for the customer, but just for us to be able to go for every single customers. And of course, some of the orders take longer because sometimes the customer wants Chick-fil-A food that is worth $200, and so that means that whatever they got, it's a big enough order that they might have to wait on it a little while because the kitchen only cooks up so much chicken at a time. So yes, and also another thing that Business that is considered a business value of Chick-fil-A is order accuracy. And so when taking a customer order, whether you're doing it in the drive-thru or even in the store behind the register, you have to ensure that every customer knows exactly what they want and put it in correctly. And so one of the things that they teach us is when a customer is done with sharing with you their order, you should repeat it back to them and make sure that you got down every single detail. If they would like a Chick-fil-A sandwich with no pickles, make sure you repeat back Chick-fil-A sandwich with no pickles. If they would like a large lemonade with a little bit of sweet tea, just mark that down in the tablet or on your register that they would like their lemonade with a little bit of sweet tea instead of going for the signature Sunjoy, which is the sweet tea split with lemonade. And it's just, even with all of that being done with the fast and efficient service and order accuracy, sometimes mistakes can happen. Why? Because people are going to be people. People are going to be people. And sometimes when they want one thing, they actually mean something different. And because they don't understand that we don't serve things the way that maybe other Chick-fil-A would serve things, that can slow up the process even more. And sometimes we're really backed up in the drive-thru because a customer has an issue with their order or feels that an item is missing, when in general it's not that it's missing, it's that they never expressed to the team member that was taking their order that they wanted item A instead of B. And so there is a lot of transpiring going on between people who are working front of house in the drive-thru specifically, and then people back in the kitchen, because the kitchen is expected to meet a certain expectation about how we package food, how much time we spend on a particular item that needs to be prepped, and how fast we can get it to the team members up front that are ready to package up the food and send it off to the customers. And so, yeah, it can get pretty hectic in the drive-thru, because especially at the Chick-fil-A that I work at in Virginia, it's known to be one of the busiest Chick-fil-A's in the areas, just based on the numbers of customers we can get through the drive-thru a day. There'll be 20 cars lined up, wrapped around the store, 20, 30 cars on a given day, because people love that Chick-fil-A sandwich. I don't know what they put in that sandwich. It's got to be something in that sandwich, because people go nuts over it. And then lastly, as far as business value goes, especially at the Chick-fil-A that I work at, it's sell, sell, sell. Constantly keep selling, especially upselling. Every week, our director of hospitality, he likes to set up a challenge for us team members to sell a certain item or a certain value on the menu that would increase sales and be able to attend to make profits. So this week he is challenging all the team members that are going to be outside order taking in the drive-thru or even inside the store, whether they're on the cashier or register, This week is the challenge of selling the most brownies. Now, Chick-fil-A has some awesome brownies that they sell, and it's really good. I've tried it. Sometimes I like to take a brownie home and heat it up in the microwave just a little bit, and then have it with some non-fat Greek yogurt, and it's so good. And so, yeah, one of the things that the Chick-fil-A that I work at, what the director does is he sets up a challenge, and the Chick-fil-A that sells the most item wins free Visa gift cards that they can use anywhere. And the whole point of this challenge is to be able to make profits, especially since our menu, we went through a price hike earlier this month, and so the prices of our food has jumped maybe by 20-30%. And for a lot of customers, that especially the ones that come by a lot, they notice that and think, oh my gosh, why is this so expensive? And it's like, I don't know why. And I think it has something to do with the fact that they're having to pay for all the changes that are coming in, for all the new people that they keep hiring, and all the training that they're doing. And so that's probably one of the reasons for the price increase. So yeah, when we sell, we sell the most items of whatever challenge we're in. And if we do it, and if we succeed so well, we get a free Visa gift card in exchange. So that is biblical values versus business values of Chick-fil-A. By working at Chick-fil-A, there are some very valuable life lessons that I be sure to carry on long after I hang up my red shirt and retire from ever saying my pleasure. First valuable lesson is the customer is not always right. People like to take advantage. People are sometimes opportunists. And when they see an issue, they like to hone on it and figure out how they're going to take advantage of our great hospital service. What I've learned from working at Chick-fil-A, each Chick-fil-A store, the restaurants, they are owned independently. They are operated independently. Yes, there is a corporation that basically runs the foundation for every Chick-fil-A store, but each franchise establishment is operated and owned independently. So certain Chick-fil-A stores might be able to serve extra salad dressings if you wanted to pay a subcharge for them. Other Chick-fil-A's don't. Some Chick-fil-A's offer to sell fries, waffle fries in the morning, as long as you're willing to pay for charge for waffle fries. Other Chick-fil-A's don't. And sometimes when customers come in and they have an issue with their order, they sometimes think that because one Chick-fil-A might be able to do that, that means all Chick-fil-A's will be able to do what they do. And that's not always the case. And one of the things that I've learned is you got to stand your ground with customers, because sometimes customers like to be hostile and like to get impatient. And even though it is not up to standard to reflect that energy, you have to rise to the occasion, I guess, and be able to come up with solutions without trying to forego your standards. That's all. Second lesson I've learned is do not take things personal. And I think this can be a lesson that can be instilled in every work environment, in every profession you go into, or just really everywhere you go in life. If things ever became personal, I think it would be very noticeable. However, what I've learned from working at Chick-fil-A is not everything is about me. I am here to provide a service. I am here to do a job. And just because of a leader or supervisor says something to me about a particular thing, that doesn't mean that I am incompetent. That doesn't mean that I don't know how to do my job or don't do it well. It just means that there's a little kink here, and it just needs to be straightened out. A matter of fact, in the views of some of the directors that work at Chick-fil-A, at the Chick-fil-A that I worked at, and some of the shift leaders, they think I'm a very hardworking team member. They find me to be very providing very good service to the community nearby where I work. And they know that wherever they place me at work, whether if it's outside order taking or making drinks or doing bagging food together, they know that I'm gonna be one of those team members with the least amount of issues at that particular station. Third lesson is never be afraid to speak up for yourself. And I am saying this to myself more and more every day, is don't let people talk down to you. Don't let people think that it's okay to disrespect you. Just because you might be at the bottom of the food pyramid of Chick-fil-A doesn't mean that I am not deserving of respect or having dignity as much as the store operator or the director or even the leaders, the managers and team leaders that work there. Everyone is deserving of respect and dignity regardless of what position you are, what ranking you might have, or where you are. And that's one of the lessons I've learned is never be afraid to speak up for yourself. Say something when you know there's an issue with another team member or whatever. Don't be afraid to address things. Of course, in a respectful manner, because you don't want to come off as disrespectful. But never forget your worth. Fourth and final lesson that I will share from working at Chick-fil-A, I only can think of a few things I've learned, even though there's probably a lot of things that I've learned by working at Chick-fil-A. So this last lesson I've learned is always meet expectations by your management. The management team at Chick-fil-A, sometimes they're really good at being like they're your friend. And what I mean by that is sometimes management likes to act like they're your friend. And sometimes they can be your friend when the situation is appropriate. But at the end of the day, this is a job. They have expectations of you as an employee, as a team member, or even associate, just like I have expectations of them and what I need from them. And and what they're able to do for me when I'm able to do my job. So it's a two-way street with management. And one of the hard things I've learned at working at Chick-fil-A is sometimes management can't always be your friend. They can't always make exceptions, special exceptions for you when you need something, because they have this contract and this handbook that they follow by, and they're really strict about it, even if it seems as though they don't follow the handbook or the guidelines as much themselves. So these are some of the valuable lessons that I have learned by working as a team member at Chick-fil-A. Have you ever wondered what the hierarchy of Chick-fil-A is like? Well, based on where I work, this is how the pyramid is structured. At the top of the pyramid, you have the owner/operator. They can own a Chick-fil-A store or two. They have more of a direct communication with corporate, and they have more business inside secrets than a lot of the people who work at Chick-fil-A do. Okay, so you have the owner and operator at the top of the pyramid. Then underneath the operator, you have the directors. They're the ones that hone in on a specific division or section of a Chick-fil-A store. For instance, certain Chick-fil-A stores can have a hospitality director, a marketing director, a kitchen director, a drive-through director, so on and so forth. They take a specific division of the brand, certain division of the store or the brand, Chick-fil-A brand, and they work together as a team to how to run a more efficient environment. And then underneath the director, so you're midway down the pyramid, you have the shift leaders, and they oftentimes worry about the meeting daily profits, being able to produce sales throughout the day, and they run basically the store as far as they make the shifts, they instill different team members in place, who's going to be where and what they're going to be doing. And they really are the bread and butter of the store. They really do a lot with the directors and making sure that they're able to run a very efficient store. And then team leaders and shift leaders, you would think they kind of are next to each other or in the same position based on what they do, but there really are different ranking. So you have the owner, operator, then the directors, and then the shift leaders. And then underneath the shift leaders are the team leaders. And they basically help the shift leaders run their shifts. They help serve the team members that might be struggling. They might help with keeping track of sales and how much we are producing sales throughout a shift or even throughout the entire day. And then at the bottom of the pyramid, you have the team members / trainers. And our focus as team members is you're supposed to focus on serving the guests, be willing to produce second mile services, going beyond expectations, and just creating a welcoming environment so that guests want to come back. And then the trainers also help with new team members who come on board and just help them get situated with the environment and feel more comfortable so they can really thrive well on their own. So yes, that is the structure hierarchy of Chick-fil-A, well, just based on the Chick-fil-A that I work at. I know at different Chick-fil-A's it could look slightly differently, but that's just a broad version of it. You would think by working in food service, it'd be really easy to be able to climb up the pyramid and be able to reach different positions. Well, at the Chick-fil-A that I worked at, I have tried to become a trainer. I'm not really sure if at this point if this is something that's even applicable for me, or this is something, or if this is even a goal for me anymore. As I said, there is a difference between the manager and team members, but a team leader is somebody that's in between. They're not exactly have the exact same responsibilities as a team leader or shift leaders, but they're there to help with new hires and really help with the efficiency of the work environment and help with the flow of things. And one of the things that I would tell people tell somebody if they were thinking about getting a job in the food service industry is, do not think you will come into this arena, that you will come into this industry thinking that you can make your way up, because you will really, really struggle. And there is a fantastic article by smashed.com, and it's an article the title is Things You Don't Know About Fast Food Service. And I'll share a link in the description of this episode. And one of the things that the article shared is, the fast food industry has some of the highest turnover rates compared to other industries. So in a given year, you're having to replace 150% of your workforce. That means that in a particular store or restaurant, you can replace an entire employee pool and expect it to replace half of that same workforce, because that is a reflection of people quitting, people dropping off on a dime and just leaving. It even says here, I'm going to be reading certain experts from this article. Where does it say that? Yes, it says here, the things you don't know about fast food is, yes, the fast food industry has a yearly employee turnover rate of 150%. This means that every year they fully replace their workforce and then replace half of those replacements. And then another thing about working in the food service industry is the average age of somebody who may be working in fast food. You would think working in fast food, it's all teenagers and college students who basically want to make some money and be able to save up and be able to buy books or pay for college. But no. The average age, according to this article by Smashed, I keep saying smashed, but Smashed. It says here, there's a stereotype that most fast food employees are teens just looking to make pocket money or to save up for college. If that were the case, maybe the low pay wouldn't be such an issue. But in fact, more than 40% of the fast food industry workforce is made up made up of people 25 years or older, with the average age hovering around 29 years old. In contrast to that myth, that most fast food workers are uneducated, and about a third of them have completed some form of higher education too. So the average age is 29 years old. That means that for some, maybe not at Chick-fil-A specifically, but for a lot of people in the fast food industry, they are either out of school, they are at that tender age where they should be owning a home, probably getting married, have a kid or two, and they are working in this industry making minimum wage. Also, what it says here on in the article is, do not come into the fast food industry thinking that you're going to easily make your way up, because it is really hard. It's especially been hard for me personally, trying to go from team member to team trainer, even though that a team trainer isn't exactly considered a shift leader or even a team leader. They're not even considered a leader in general, or expected to run a shift or have the same responsibility as a manager. But it says here in the article that we're a bootstrap nation, one that assumes you can work your way up from the bottom as long as you put your nose to the grindstone and put in the hours. Unfortunately, in the fast food industry, employees are more likely facing a road to nowhere. That's because, put simply, the numbers just don't add up. A whopping 90% of workers in the fast food industry are cashiers or line cooks, waiters, etc., servers, while only 9.9% gain low-level supervisor titles that make them around $13 an hour. Even more dismal, just 2.2% of all fast food jobs are at the managerial level in corporate positions, which millions of employees are in competition for. And though companies like McDonald's share franchises, success stories about employees who work their way from manager to owner, just 1% of all fast food workers actually own a franchise. It's incredibly rare. So much for working your way up. That is very true. A lot of the employees who wish to go from team member to team leader or even shift leader or help out and become a marketing director, that's hardly the case for a lot of fast food employees. And also, this article by MASH also highlights a lot of fast food employees are reliant on public assistance, because it's no secret that fast food doesn't pay the bills or help put food on the table as much, or even help with buying your kid medicine and things of that nature. So you're really having to find second jobs. And actually, I know at the Chick-fil-A that I work at, I know some of fellow team members / shift leaders who have second jobs, because they're not able to meet their lifestyle. They're not able to pay the bills that they have or meet their responsibilities with just working on a Chick-fil-A salary. So there's a little insight for you guys about what it's like working for Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A could be if you go in with the right intentions, it can be a very great learning opportunity that definitely diversify your resume. And it can be a very challenging job other times, and you really have to be able to find an even balance. But that is all. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Shaida, and this is Her America.